Hello and welcome to your astrological forecast for December 2025. In this video, I'm going to look at the overview of what to expect from 2025 December and each individual sun sign, rising sign for you for this coming December. Now, before I start, you know what I'm going to say, become a subscriber and like the video. It all helps to spread the word of astrology. Okay. Let's get started then. Wow, we've had a November that's just passed that has been quite difficult for a lot of people. And I think that certainly there is movement forward in December. We can expect things to maybe become a little bit easier, a little bit more optimistic. And let's be honest, it is the party season when the sun is in Sagittarius. So generally there is a kind of a sense of things becoming a little bit more optimistic, looking ahead, planning. But also, and I think this time of year is great from an astrological perspective, it's also about being reflective about your achievements over the last 12 months. And also, we're leading up to the winter solstice, which this year is going to be on the 21st of December. The winter solstice is, for me, really important, because from that point on in the northern hemisphere, the sun begins to ascend, which means that we're coming out of this long, dark nights that we've been experiencing. So there's a great optimism, I think, about the winter solstice. It's a celebration of the sun, the coming of the sun. But we've got through November, so what can we expect from this month? Well, let's just look at a few things. First of all, Jupiter is still going retrograde for the entire month in Cancer. It starts off at 24 degrees and by the end of December it's at 21 degrees in Cancer. Uranus has gone back into Taurus and starts off at 29 degrees and ends at December at 27 degrees. Neptune. Now, Neptune is going to be moving forward about the 9th, 10th of December. And that will be at 29 degrees of Pisces. Now, 29 degrees is really important in astrology. It's what we call critical degree. And it's kind of like a magnified version of that particular sign of the zodiac. And it's really interesting that, of course, with Pisces, it never, since going retrograde, it's always remained at 29 degrees. Which to me is like there's a heightened sense of intuition and collective kind of anxiety, which has been happening a lot with a lot of clients of mine who have been feeling very, very anxious at this point. And it's kind of that's almost psychic awareness that I think that's picking up from that vibration of a 29 degrees Neptune that's taking place. Mercury has also just started moving direct, so that's kind of going through all of the degrees that it was retrograde through Scorpio and Sagittarius. Then we've got Venus at the start of the month goes into Sagittarius, which is kind of nice because that adds to the party season. I mean, Venus and the Sun always, like Mercury, travel quite close. They're always in that sign or adjacent to those signs. We've still got Mars going through Sagittarius. That switches into Capricorn around about the 25th here as well. So there's a lot of Mars can really function in Capricorn towards the end of the month. It's what we call exalted. It's really happy. So we've got a lot of Saggy energy this month. Saturn is moving forward now, starting to move forward on the 28th of November in Pisces. Starts off 25 degrees, ends at 26 degrees. So again, we are looking at some movement on that 29 degrees coming up in December. So there's a lot going on with that. And again, you know, that Pisces aspect, Saturn and Neptune are sort of in conjunction with each other. We've got a full moon on the 4th. That's at 13 degrees in Gemini. That's another supermoon. And, you know, for a lot of people, like a Gemini moon is kind of a bit scatty and a little bit sort of preoccupied by the mental aspect of life. and that can mean that sometimes that it becomes a little bit sort of too many irons in the fire energy, and that's kind of interesting because you've also got the Sagittarius flavor as well that's taking place. And then we got the new moon on the 20th. That's at 28 degrees in Sagittarius, and that's going to make quite a few impacts with a square aspect with Neptune and Saturn. So that's a tricky one. We got the solstice, of course, coming up as well on the 21st. So, okay, what can we expect from this particular month? You know, for me, a lot of the energy is going to be about create a vision for the future, you know, for us all. And that's what we kind of do in December anyway. But I feel like this is going to become even stronger as we go on. And I feel like some of those ideas could be idealistic. From a political point of view, it might seem that there's new ideas and a new sense of urgency and a new sense of wanting to replace the old and bring in the new. And that can be a little bit challenging at that time from an economic and political aspect here. There's a lot going on with to do with countries abroad and relations abroad as well. And education comes under the spotlight an awful lot in politics here. When you've got so much going on in Sagittarius, it also can mean that you like that Gemini moon, it's full moon, it's kind of too scattered. It's too kind of chaotic in a way. So we have these periods of kind of optimism, things are going to change, and then these periods where it just seems like it doesn't. So we've got this kind of almost bipolar-esque collective energy that's going on. But at least there's visions and there's things coming out of the surface here that are going to take us into December, right through to next year, 2026. And I feel like the seeds that are being planted in this month, some of the ideas, some of the things that people are talking about are going to have such an impact for 2026. And look, guys, you know, a lot of these planets are starting to move into the signs that they need to go into, particularly Neptune for next year and Saturn being two aspects, and actually Uranus. And I know they've all gone into Aries, Neptune and Saturn this year, and Uranus has gone into Gemini. That's just a kind of little bit of a flavor, but next year they're all going to solidify themselves into those signs of zodiac, and that's when things and real change and movement sort of really does begin to happen, and that's going to have real kind of powerful effect on us all. But there are challenges this month, and a lot of those challenges are to do with you know, if we are allowing ourselves to become a little bit too preoccupied by the future instead of dealing with the present, then that's where problems can really arise. But having said that, I think it's an easier month than November for us all. I'm a bit sort of concerned about the moons. That moon on the 13th, you know, that's going to be kind of interesting, because at the 13th, or the 13 degrees on the 4th, you've got kind of it sort of hitting Venus, opposing Venus. You've got very wide opposition with Mars. It's a little bit on the sort of, again, scatty side. But then the one I'd be really looking at here, which I think we have to be careful, is the new moon. And again, new moons are getting more of the exposure rather than the full moons. So the new moon on the 20th, just before the winter solstice, which is on the 21st. That's at 28 degrees in Sag, and that's squaring, as I said earlier, that's having a square aspect with Neptune and Saturn. And that's kind of like, that's a big key date in December, where, you know, it's a little bit like, okay, we're trying this, but it doesn't quite work. And if you've got signs in the zodiac at that middle part of, you know, Gemini, Virgo, Pisces and Sagittarius, then you're going to be quite affected during that particular period. Okay, so let's go straight into the signs of the zodiac. This next bit is for the sun in Aries or the rising of Aries. Okay. So what's happening with Aries? Well, Mars is the big kind of factor in this. Mars, your ruler. Now that's going through Sagittarius, which is your 9th house. A lot of idealistic thinking, a lot of thinking about travel, a lot of thinking about education and retraining, a lot to do with big concepts and what you'd like to achieve and what you wouldn't like to achieve. You know, you're going off into kind of your own kind of a little adventure, and you know that's not a bad thing at all. You know, look, you know, Saturn and Neptune are giving you a bit of a break over the last couple of months, and that's quite good. You know, and this is the word I'm going to really look towards for you guys is the word education, and that could mean several different movements. It doesn't have to be you're sitting in the classroom. It means that you're educating yourself. You're taking in knowledge. You're taking in information. You're writing information and writing knowledge and being very aware of what you can do to better yourself and to develop. And it's, you know, it's fantastic for the kind of the spiritual aspects of where you're going and what you're doing. That's going to have massive impact on you. And it's really a great month for sort of planning. Now, Mars, your ruler, you know, around the 15th, so the first half is education. On the 15th, it goes into your 10th house. It goes into Capricorn, where it remains for the remainder of the month. And that is to do with career ambition. If you want to start new projects, Aries, you're on a new project, you want to elevate your particular career aspirations, you want to deal with authority figures in a constructive way, then this is the time to do it. This is going to be fantastic for you because Mars is kind of on your side. And although Mars is a nocturnal planet and it's at the top of your chart, it's exalted in Capricorn and actually can function. And it has a certain degree of people listening to what you want to say and looking at your ideas. And if you want to achieve a lot in a very short space of time, this is the time in the second half of this month to be able to do that. Okay, next is Taurus, sun sign, Taurus rising. All right, okay. So Taurians had a bit of a difficult, tricky November. Most of them did. There's a little bit of a sort of switch going on. You know, you're still dealing with the sort of what I would say the emergence of Uranus going back into your own sign of the zodiac. So there is a kind of feeling of deja vu. Oh God, I've been here before the last 7 years and I'm back here to where I was. And oh, all right, okay. But this is more about you responding in a less chaotic manner than you have done previously. And this is just a tidying up of the loose ends. This is to make sure that you've learned the lessons and the experience of the last 7 years to not catastrophize, to not think, oh God, this is what it's going to be like for the rest of my life kind of scenario. Because if you've learned those lessons and you take that on board, then actually what you'll find is a sense of liberation, a sense of, okay, whatever's thrown at me at life, I can handle. I can deal with this. It's okay. But also that you don't have to control everything around you, that you can allow things to just play out. And if you take that, then it's going to make life a lot easier for you. I mean, this month I feel like is an easier month. I think like there's not so much of a spotlight on you from other people. I think you could be a bit quieter, and I think you can kind of, you get on with your life and do what you want to do. I mean, your ruler Venus is, you know, situated in your 8th solar house, and that's kind of like it. The 8th solar house is a bit more of a kind of hidden house. So your enjoyment in life is kind of not there to be displayed. It's more about actually you kind of going, okay, you know, I'm just enjoying what I do and I don't need to brag about it. You know, it does move into your 9th house around about the 25th, which is quite good for you. That's into Capricorn, another earth sign like yourself. So you can, you know, on that sort of Christmas period, you can start to enjoy yourself a little bit more and display that. But I feel for a lot of you, it's just understanding that, look, you know, don't go into, oh God, this feels very similar. It's not, it's just tidying up the loose ends. Okay, Gemini, Sun and Gemini rising. Okay, November, your ruler Mercury was retrograde, little bit of challenging. It's just come out of retrograde, but it's kind of got to get to that sort of 6-7 degrees out of its shadow period, which happens in the middle of December. So from the middle of December, about the 16th, 17th, that's when things kind of get a lot easier for you, and it's less misunderstandings and less scattered. A lot of planets are in your solar 7th house, so it's a lot to do with relationships and how people view you, and you know, they will be taking the limelight for you, and you just got to be kind of aware of that. You know, for you, I feel like it's a month where you allow others to say their piece, and you don't respond straight away. You contemplate, certainly in the first 2 weeks of the month, and then in the second half, you've got a bit more leeway to actually kind of go, well, hang on here, I disagree or I agree, whatever's the case. You've got that full moon on the 4th of December in your own zodiac sign, so that little 3rd, 4th, 5th could be a little bit on the tricky side, a little bit, oh, hang on here. There's a lot of focus on you and what you said in the past and what you should have said, and misunderstandings with that as well. So you might have to slightly defend yourself. But it is a very active month for a lot of Geminis. And I think they'll find that they don't mind it when it's active. It's when it slows down and becomes very, very stagnant. That's when Geminis just like can't, they sort of panic. But I think, you know, there is a lot going on, particularly in the relationship area of your life this month. Okay, Cancer Sun, Cancer Rising. Last week of the month, when the planet Mars goes into your 7th house, things get very, very busy for that last sort of 5-6 days of December. Leading up to that, it's very work orientated for you guys. There is a real focus. You've got Mars going through your solar 6th house, which traditionally is in its joy. So, you know, you can achieve a lot in your working environment and, you know, look after your health and look after yourself and, you know, be really attentive to your own needs. It's a very self-care period for you, and that's magnified by the full moon on the 4th of December, which sits in your 12th house, which is the house of mental health as well, as far as I'm concerned. So it's looking after your mental health and looking after you and having strong boundaries. It's a very, very strong energy about that. Of course, the winter solstice, I think, is a great time for Cancerians as well as Capricorns, you know, because the sun goes into Capricorn on the winter solstice, and that goes into your 7th house. The sun shines in the house of other people, but there's a reference to your own when the sun goes on the 21st of June into Cancer, and that 6-month basis here. So there's quite a reflective quality for you guys this month. But when the sun goes into Capricorn, what it does in your solar chart is it goes into the day part of your chart, which means that you're in for a 6-month period, which is actually quite busy and very external, instead of the last 6 months, which have been quite internal, you know, where you've been maybe slightly hiding. And therefore, it's a bit of a celebratory. As I said, those 5 days for a lot of Cancerians, very busy, quite outward, and it's almost like you're emerging from this sort of shell that you've been in, hiding, and emerging and saying, well, here I am, and everything else, which is great. So there's quite a bit that's kind of going on with you guys. Okay, Leo Sun, Leo Rising. All right, Leos, the sun is shining in your 5th house. Venus is shining in your 5th house. Mars is shining in your 5th house. You catch my drift? What is the 5th house? The 5th house is the house of creativity, speculation, children, self-expression, romantic attachments, drama, social events, finding your own individuality. This is a busy time for Leos. Leos are suddenly, and they'll love this, Leos are suddenly in the spotlight a lot. They're able to really be quite outgoing this month, and a lot's going to occur for them. It's a very, very busy period. And this all kicks off on the 4th with that full moon falling in your 11th solar house, which gets things going, gets the party started for you. Apart from if you're born right at the end of Leo, if you're born right at the end of Leo, you know, that sort of 20th of August, 21st, depending, maybe 22nd, depending when the sun went into Virgo, sorry. You've got Uranus squaring your sun, so you've got a very chaotic time, I would say, at the moment, where there's a lot of changes that are just happening, and you're going, well, why is this all happening? Well, it's because Uranus is squaring your sun. But for a majority of you, it's going to be quite a nice time period. It's gonna feel kind of very jolly and a lot going on. I always come back to the fact that Pluto's in your opposite sign, sort of bedding away, and so there is that kind of shadow of Pluto still there, and that's there for a long time, but you kind of got used to it now. So this is a really kind of quite fun month for you guys. Okay, Virgo, Sun, Virgo rising. Mercury's been your ruler. November's been a little bit challenging than you would like. You kind of patched up things a little bit with other people from last month. And you're going over all the stuff that you should have done in November. That's basically what December sort of turns into. You've got Saturn gone back into your opposite sign, back into the sign of relationships and other people, with Neptune as well. You've got to watch out for the 19th, 20th, because you've got the new moon squaring from the 4th house to the 7th house. So it's a little unpredictable time. It'll be unpredictable and then it'll settle down. So try not to get too kind of wound up by that. But it will feel like there's many ideas that you've got for 2026 that you're kind of thinking, right, I want to do this, I want to do that. All of this kind of coming through. And I think that's going to have quite an impact on you sort of going forward for the month, because you're going to kind of feel like, oh, I could do this, do that. Some of those ideas are going to be great, some of them not so. A lot of focus is on the 4th house. A lot of planets in the 4th house, which means a lot of focus on the home environment, on family, the ancestral, property as well, and the people that you live with. And it's quite an active month for those themes of family, property, living where you're living, home environment, etc., etc. Okay, Libra sun, Libra rising. Okay, Librans have started a bit of a break. Saturn's off the case now, so's Neptune as well for a bit, and Pluto's doing them a kind of a little bit of a favour. And your ruler Venus starts off in Sagittarius, which is in your 3rd house of communication. So it's quite a busy month. It's kind of, it's picking you up a lot, because your Venus is not in aversion to your Libra sun, like it has been over the last kind of 3 or 4 weeks, which has been in Scorpio, which is in aversion to Libra. So your Venus, your ruler, can actually see your sun. So it means that you can communicate effectively and start to learn how to communicate a lot better with people around you, and also feel like life's moving forward, which Librans have been a little bit sort of stuck of late, feeling a little bit sort of maybe a bit sorry for themselves, a little bit sort of, why is life not this, no, why is like that, life not that, like that. But Venus is kind of now functioning for you, and that's really good, because it means that you could actually do stuff and plan as well for 2026. And I think that's not been necessarily the case for you. And even when Venus moves in on Christmas Day into Capricorn, that goes into your 4th house, which is the house of the home, the family and stuff like that. So that's a nice energy to work with. So you don't feel like you're putting as much pressure on yourself. You don't feel like, oh God, life's a bit tough and all this kind of stuff, which Saturn has been kind of giving you. You actually feel a bit lighter, a little bit, okay, you know, things are starting to look up for you guys. And I think that's kind of important for where you are right now. And Venus is kind of on your side for this month and going into January as well. Okay, Scorpio Sun, Scorpio Rising. Mercury, which would be retrograde, is basically starts off at about 20 degrees in your own sign. So it's now moving forward. It's got to go through the next 10 degrees where it's gone retrograde previously. So there is a little bit of, how can I say this, catching up on things that have been put to one side, or misunderstandings, or things that just haven't worked, putting them to one side to move things forward. That's quite an important aspect here. Your ruler, your traditional ruler, Mars, is going through your 2nd house, which is the financial, for the first half of the month, concentrating on finances a lot for Scorpios. And then it moves into the 3rd house, which is the house of communication skills. So you're in for quite a busy time, an awful lot for you, that I feel is very strong. And I think that this will have a certain amount of forward-thinking energy that comes with this here. Your modern ruler Pluto is 1 degree moving forward in Aquarius, in your 4th house. So there is stuff happening in the home environment, but that's behind the scenes more than anything. Okay, Sagittarius Sun, Sagittarius Rising. Yes, it's your month. The sun is basking in your own sign. You start off with a month of Venus and Mars in your own zodiac sign. So Sagittarius, busy time, focuses on you. Watch out for the 4th. You've got a full moon hitting your 7th house, relationship house. So that could be a little bit tricky sometimes, or an ending, or something coming to a closure. But by and large, this is that's a very Jupiter term, by and large, isn't it? You'll find that actually this month becomes like a centerpiece, and it's the start of your year. It really is, and I think that it's a busy time for you, particularly from a social level. And there is this kind of sense that things are starting to move. However, you've got Saturn and Neptune gone back into your 4th house, so you've still got a lot of responsibilities and tidying up in the home environment and the family and stuff like that. But basically, you can start to kind of really look forward in terms of putting a lot of energy into the world, a lot of your ideas coming out, and that having a massive impact. Okay, Capricorn Sun, Capricorn Rising. Your ruler Saturn is now moving forward in your own zodiacs, in Pisces, in your 3rd house. You can communicate much more effectively, which is great. You've got Mars around about the 15th going into your own zodiac sign. Very, very good for starting new projects, for getting things motivated, and also for putting structure and boundaries in place that helps you to balance work and life a lot here as well. The winter solstice on the 21st is when obviously the sun goes into your own zodiac sign. Really strong actually energy at the solstice, and I feel like, you know, this is coming into your month as we go into the latter parts of December going into January. Anything to sort of look at? I think for if you're born at the end of Capricorn, say about the 18th of January, 17th, 18th, maybe 19th, then then Uranus is kind of pushing you to sort of, you know, break new ground and do some new things. So new opportunities is really coming for you or being presented for you. It feels like this is a month when it's a bit chaotic the first 2 weeks, and then in the last 2 weeks you've got it all in order, and you kind of know where you're going, and you kind of feel like you're moving forward, and that's going to be fantastic. Okay, Aquarius Sun, Aquarius Rising. Your modern ruler Uranus has gone back into your 4th house, so you're definitely looking at the home environment. As I said, sort of tidying up loose ends. Your traditional ruler Saturn is now moving forward in your 2nd house, which is the financial house. So you might feel like you've got a grip on the finances finally, or how you value yourself. You might just feel a bit more optimistic about what you're contributing to the world and what you're doing about that. And I think that's going to be really make you feel a little bit more, much more positive for yourself and sort of what you're doing and where you're going. Lot of planets in the friendship part, so expect a lot of social activities coming up for you, and a lot to do with the collective and what's happening in the world and being quite involved in that. It's quite a nice period for Aquarius Rising, Aquarius Suns. It's kind of got that kind of nice optimism that's coming in, and it's kind of playful, particularly. On the 15th, Mars goes into your 12th house. And that can be a little bit, that they call in modern astrology, they call the 12th house the house of self-undoing. Mars goes in there and kind of stirs up things that need to be looked at, things that maybe you've ignored for a little bit, in your subconscious. And, doing the inner work that needs to be done, and how to look after your own particular needs and your own mental health as well, and how you want to put those boundaries in place. And that's going to be working in the background throughout the Christmas period, and you can get a lot from that, because what will happen come to the end of January, February time, is that Mars will go into your 1st house and give you a real kind of kick start to the new year. Okay, Pisces Sun, Pisces Rising. Pisceans, it's all about the career. Particularly the first 2 weeks, it's career crazy. There's things that started, you're here, there, and everywhere. You're asked to be here, and then you're going there. It's social, it's busy, it's aspirational, it's slightly chaotic. You're going to have to replan Christmas because it's just going to be so busy, and you're going to be working right up until Christmas Day, and you'll kind of enjoy it. Actually, it's going to be a very, very different sort of Christmas from last year for you. You still got Saturn holding you to account, particularly if you're born at the end of Pisces, 17th, 18th, sort of 19th of March. Saturn's still sitting around your Sun, and actually I'm going to put the 16th of March in there as well. Saturn's still kind of sitting on your Sun, and that means that you've got responsibilities, you've got duties, and it is about work, and that's what you've got to do. That's why you're here at this particular moment, is to work and to deal with the more material aspects of life. But the trouble is, you've got Neptune also, for those people that I just said, those dates, as well at the end at 29 degrees. And although Neptune is moving forward on the 10th, which will be a delight for a lot of Pisces, because they feel like they're not sort of in this wibbly wobbly world, it'll also feel a little bit like trying to balance idealism with the practical and getting caught out. But really, I'd be going towards Saturn and going, no, work. Carve things out for yourself. And once you do that, I think that you can get a very successful December for you. Okay, folks, there you go. Like I said, subscribe, like the video, please. And I'll see you all in the new year. And thank you for watching.